No.
The rain.
Dad joke.
Yeah, dad joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good day. Welcome to another edition of the Digital Download.
Which is?
Today, thank you. The longest running weekly business talk show on LinkedIn Live.
Yeah. Do you want a better joke?
No, not really.
Can't be any worse.
Well, I was going to tell you a joke about boxing, but I forgot the punchline.
Not much of a joke then, really, is it?
Okay. Today we're talking about resilience as a lifestyle. We have a special guest, Michelle Dickinson, to help guide us. We'll talk with Michelle about what is meant by a resilient lifestyle, why it's important, and where do we start. But before we bring Michelle on, let's go around and introduce everyone on the panel. And while we're doing that, why don't you in the audience reach out to a friend, ping them, and have them join us? We strive to make the digital download an interactive experience, so audience participation is highly encouraged. All right, so with that, introductions. Adam, would you kick us off, please?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Adam Gray, co-founder of DLA Ignite, and delighted to be here. I really look forward to this every week. We've had some really amazing guests on over the last couple of months, and it truly has been an education in so many ways.
Absolutely. Thank you. Joke teller, Alex.
Yeah. Good afternoon, all. So I'm clearly not the resident comedian, but I am Alex Abbott, the founder of Sapiro, and I am a proud DLA Ignite partner. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Thank you. And Tim.
I'm Tim Hughes. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite, and I'm famous for writing a book, Social Selling Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers.
Excellent. Thank you.
So I'm actually going to tell you a little story. So I'll let you in, the viewers, into a little secret. Adam's mum's not very well. So he's actually at his mum's house. And he's sitting in the dining room, which is where 30 years ago, I don't know if you know, but Adam is a violin player and he actually went to university to learn the violin. And he used to practice when he was in his teens and that in the dining room at home. So because of that, he put pictures of violins up on the wall. And here we are, 40 years later. 40 years later, his mum still got them up on the wall.
Wow.
Isn't that wonderful?
She must love you, Adam.
Well, there had to be someone, didn't there?
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you. And myself, I am Rob Durant, founder of Flywheel Results, also a proud DLA Ignite partner. So, as I said, this week on the Digital Download, we'll speak with Michelle Dickinson, resilience visionary, burnout interventionist, and workplace culture architect. Michelle partners with leaders to normalize the mental health narrative in the workplace and prevent employee burnout. Michelle, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Morning, Michelle.
Sure.
Hi, guys.
Please tell us a little bit more about you and how you got here.
Well, I guess you guys found me somehow. Exactly what you said. I'm a resilience visionary. I work with individuals and organizations to really help people preserve their emotional well-being. We're always talking about climbing our way back after burnout or after a hard experience in life. And I'm here to tell you that I think there's a lot we can be doing to preserve our emotional well-being and prevent that.
Awesome. So let's start off with the obvious question. What do you mean by a resilient lifestyle?
Yeah. And so it goes back to what I just said, right? A lot of us and our society teaches us to relate to resilience as something you build during the dark times, right? Like I climbed my way out of that experience and therefore I emerged resilient. And what I and my business partner are very keen to get people to realize is resilience is a lifestyle that we integrate into our life so that we can ebb and flow with those inevitable hurdles that show up. You know, a lot of what we teach are things you can be doing every single day to feel good, to preserve your health. And then your mindset. What is your mindset? So if you could really tackle what it is around your mindset that might be challenging you, and then really take well-being and preserving your emotional well-being seriously and do something for yourself every day, you could learn to ebb and flow with the inevitable stress and challenges that will come your way.
What I'm hearing you say is there's a proactive approach to dealing with your problems.
What?
But I don't want any problems.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, the problem is people run on E. People ignore their health until it, you know, waves a flag at you and says you really should do something. You know, stepping over our health as if we have tomorrow to get to it, you know? And I'm here to just remind you, no, you should be filling your cup every day because your energy is everything and how you show up in your life is everything. So
how do you what advice would you give to someone that understands that,
yeah.
but you know is struggling to manage the day-to-day pressures of having to run faster in the hamster wheel because whatever the reason, their manager, the pressure they put on themselves?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a great question. And, you know, and the one thing we are guaranteed to deal with is an excess amount of stress. So if we can't have stress be removed from our plate, the only thing we can do is boost ourselves so we can deal with that stress. So my first question would be, what do they do to take care of themselves so that they can stay on the hamster wheel, can take care of themselves, right? So a lot of times people aren't even aware that the practices that they have or don't have are detracting from their cup. They're not filling their cup is one thing, but pulling away from their cup because they're not you know, realizing that the excess coffee or the lack of sleep or shaving hours off of their sleep is really impeding their ability to navigate stress. So it's really like taking a hard look at what you do, what are you doing every day? Or are you doing anything for yourself? Are you waiting for the inevitable like vacation or spa day in a few weeks and thinking I'm just going to grind it out, because that doesn't work either.
Yeah. You've mentioned cup a few times. Are you talking about your energy cup or?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's your overall energy. It's your mental clarity. It's all of it, right? So, for example, if you wake up in the morning and you fall into your day, you hit snooze, catapult out of bed, high cortisol, grab a cup of coffee, hit traffic, like that's pulling away and having you come at the day in a very stressful way, right? So that's the kind of stuff that doesn't give you a shot at ebbing and flowing with stress, because you're going to get more of it throughout the day. So why not start your day off with a little intentional practice for yourself that doesn't have to take more than 15 minutes?
Yeah. I sometimes start the day with my cup only 20% full anyway. Luckily, I don't have a manager to say, hey, get on with your work. I can make that choice myself. But do you what are your thoughts on whether or not an individual that does have to go to work, whether they should be open and honest about how they feel to their manager and say, hey, I'm only a level 2 today. Could you please just give me some time, some space? Or should they find ways to fill their cup themselves and then get on with their day?
Yeah, I think when we put it on our employers, we don't have a lot of empowerment. So for me, I would say, take a hard look at what you do every single day and try to make small adjustments so that you don't have to even go to your boss and say, my cup is full. Like, we all have obviously our threshold for the amount of work our employer gives us. Absolutely. And so if you need help, I would say obviously address that. But what I'm saying is keep the power in your own hands and recognize that there are things you can be doing for yourself. You know, stepping away, detaching from work, connecting with loved ones, getting in a walk outside in nature. What are you doing for you so you don't put all of that on your employer, that you could take care of you and show up a good version of you?
We have some great comments from the audience already, and I wanted to share some of those. First, we have Mickey Padova saying, this is so true. I don't think the approach is dealing with problems, but looking at the problem actually as an opportunity to view the situation in a different light and be resilient.
Yes.
And then we have one that I wanted to get your take on this, Michelle. Iman Radan Al-Dasari says, resilience, that you are the only one who has the power and responsibility to pick yourself up.
Yeah.
I hear that, and I agree with that and disagree with that at the same time. Of course, I need to be responsible for myself.
Yeah.
But can't I enlist the help of others? So what are your thoughts around this?
Oh, for sure. I mean, like, your loved ones, I think absolutely. If you take care of you, or you enroll them in what you're doing for your health, you're going to only create a supportive network, right? I want to go back to the last person's comment, because that one was really key. And I ask this question when I coach people. I'm always looking at what do they do every day, and then what's their mindset around their experience in life. And there's a really poignant question, right, that I ask to understand people's perspectives. Is life happening for you, or is life happening to you? Because if they come to me and life is happening to them, they are at the effects of their experience, and they don't have a lot of control. Their perspective is victim. Why is this happening to me? I disagree with it. They sit in the mud of I disagree with it, instead of how is this here to serve me, and what can I learn from this experience, and how can I grow, and what's the next best step I can take, right? Very different experiences of life. So you can have practices all day long, but fundamentally, if you are the victim in every scenario that doesn't go perfect, then your experience is going to be very different.
And we have
Rob,
one.
could you put up Jasmine James's comment?
Oh. Hello, Jasmine. Thank you for tuning in.
The professor. It's going to stick, Rob.
It is going to stick. You can see it.
Yes, it is. And that's fine. I'm very happy with it. And while we're shouting out, hey,
Yeah.
Lance, nice to see that you're here as well.
Yeah.
We have another comment.
Rob, so I'm really sorry, just quickly.
That's all right.
If anyone in the audience feels that Rob suits the professor, please do say so in the comments.
Just a little inside joke here, Michelle. I will be teaching marketing at Northeastern University in the fall, and I was teaching intro to business classes at Suffolk University this past year. So apparently the moniker, the professor, will be sticking with me, and I am proud to wear it.
Yeah.
So Sonny's comment is an interesting one.
Yes. Sonny Sagal says, we deployed a tool for employees to manage their health and well-being easily using Microsoft Teams. Been a game changer. Measures stress levels and HRV from a 30-second facial scan from your laptop camera.
Wow.
Really?
I have a Whoop, and it does the same thing.
Okay.
And how do you fold that into your behavior? Because it's all very well getting a scan that says you're stressed.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm stressed. Maybe I
Yeah.
don't feel like I'm stressed.
Right.
I see a scan that says I'm stressed, and I go, oh my God, I'm stressed.
Yeah.
So how do I turn that into being something positive rather than an affirmation that this is all too much for me.
Right. You have to have the practices. And I love what Mickey said. And I would love to talk about her comment because it's great. You have to have the tools in your toolbox to be able to mitigate that stress, right? So if you realize you're stressed, if you understand that simply moving your body and having your stress move through your body, or sitting silent in meditation, right? Clearing your head, giving yourself a break for 15 minutes. Everyone has 15 minutes, right? So for me, it's all about teaching people the tools to be able to identify when I'm stressed. And even for me, the Whoop has helped gamify my experience. So if I'm not getting enough recovery and I'm not getting enough sleep, then I tweak my habits to be able to gamify it and increase my scores. So for me, it's been wonderful to be able to see a very personalized approach that gives me data to encourage shifts in my behavior and my practices.
And how does one manage that if life gets in the way? Because I think that often, we have plans about what we're going to do. I'm going to take 1 hour every morning to go and sit in the cornfield and watch the clouds blow over, because that makes me feel really good.
Yeah.
So I do that on Monday. I do that on Tuesday. My boss phones on Wednesday. A client phones on Thursday. I'm out of the office on Friday. And then all of a sudden, before I know it, that habit was like so many New Year's resolutions. It evaporates by mid-January, and then you're back to the normal grind.
Yeah.
So this, I get that kind of going to bed at an early time in order to get enough sleep is crucial for health, but sometimes it isn't always possible.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's about choices. It's absolutely about choices. Because here's the thing, Adam, nobody's going to come and save you and say, you really need to take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. Like, nobody's coming for you. We have to make our self-care a non-negotiable if we want to be there for the people that love us and count on us.
And not feel guilty.
We're relating to it as an option, people. It's not an option. It's our life. It's our health. It's not like nice to do. I'm going to paint the living room. This is our health. So you have to be almost like rigid about what you're going to do for you, because it's going to help you stay healthy and show up for the people that love you, but also be able to perform the way you can perform when it comes to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. That, I mean, it is such an important thing, but many people, including myself, years ago would feel guilty making time for myself. It didn't compute in my head that, I had to do this because of this reason. And, I have dealt with burnout twice in my life, and I know the effects. So
we're working on a third time for you, Alex. Don't worry.
But I have built my resilience up, I must admit. But I wish I had the tools and the techniques and the confidence to stand up for my health to my peers and my manager, and be able to articulate that in a way that they understood, and it wasn't just Alex wanting some time off for a walk in the park.
I think, health, first of all, health is wealth. We know that, right? But we also we live in a society where it's either or. We have this either or mentality. Either I take on the extra task or I go for a walk. Why can't we get creative and make it all work? Why can't we say, I'm going to do a little bit of this, but I got to get a 15-minute walk in to clear my head, move my body, and just give myself that little pause. Like, it's possible. It doesn't have to be either or, right? We have to take a stand for ourselves and for our health.
Yeah.
I love the way that when I asked my question, you told me off afterwards. Because actually you're right. It is a non-negotiable thing. And so often that non-negotiable thing is something that we negotiate on. We negotiate with ourselves and with our work time and all of those other things. And I think that potentially part of the issue here is around re-education of people, isn't it? Even if you put the job first, you think to yourself, I still am only able to contribute to the job if actually I'm healthy and able to invest the time in that.
Yes, Adam, absolutely. You got to look at the benefits of self-care. The benefits are not just it feels good. It's I get to show up the best version of me. I get to be the person that I know I have the capacity to be if I'm feeling optimal, if I've gotten enough sleep, if I've moved my body, if I've meditated and cleared my head, if I've connected with someone I love just for the sake of it. Like someone commented about it's more than work. I love that because when I meet with people, I say to them, what are your hobbies? And most of them look at me like I have 6 heads. Like, no, like, what are your hobbies? What do you do? What brings you joy outside of your job? Because you are so much more than just an employee. So let's get you connected back to some of those outlets that fill your cup and give you that energy to be able to, perform and do all the other things you have to do.
Mm.
So do you have any specific techniques that you recommend people start applying?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Rob. I have a ton, but for the purpose of this, I'll give you some of the things that I see. So now I've been coaching people in resilience for quite a few years now, and one of the most common things that I see that we stop immediately is falling into your day. So many people don't realize how it's like a domino effect, right? Like if you're laying there in bed, you hit snooze 3 times, you're running late, and you're catapulting out of bed, and you're already in a high stress state trying to get to work on time or start your day or get to that meeting, you're setting yourself up for a really stressful day. And then, it's not going to go well. So my recommendation is really give yourself that little 15 minutes in the morning, even if you're just sitting there and having a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and you're reflecting or you're practicing some gratitude to refocus yourself over to the good stuff, because that's one of the things we all do as human beings is we will step over all the love and abundance in front of us to get to the negative stuff that needs our attention, right? And then we'll be consumed with that. So sitting for 15 minutes, just giving yourself a pause, reflecting on some of the good stuff, the love, the good stuff in your life is such a beautiful way to start your day.
But I don't have 15 minutes.
Or
if I take that 15 minutes, all I'm doing is thinking about those problems. As you said, I'm stepping over the good to worry about them. How do I clear my head and take that 15 minutes and recognize the importance of it?
You just got to try. You just got to force yourself. If you don't have 15 minutes, Rob, I'm not going to say anything negative. 15 minutes. It's just 15 minutes. It's not that long.
Mika says something just down there, which is it's choices, priorities, and forgiveness. When you don't meet them, just try again.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
Sure.
So at the very least, book the 15 minutes, take the 15 minutes, and tomorrow maybe stress a little bit less in that 15 minutes.
So Adam, when you spent your 15 minutes outside, but you didn't do it on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, the week after, try and do it Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and not Thursday and Friday. But don't kick yourself.
Yeah, I think that
you as a metaphor.
But I think that's part of the education for all of us, isn't it? It is around A, prioritizing this, and B, using this as a mechanism to unplug and to kind of reconnect with ourselves rather than something else that is giving us extra stress. Because, we're in the situation where, oh my God, I missed my 15 minutes today. Well, actually, that's increasing my stress rather than decreasing my stress.
Yeah, it's the intentionality and it's the impact. Do I want to show up a better version of myself today than I did yesterday? And will being a little bit intentional with how I start my day create a change? Try it. Give yourself the opportunity. Give yourself 2 days or 3 days to try it and see how it feels and go from there. But don't not, because it does set the tone for your entire day.
Yeah.
If I feel I'm approaching a crisis situation, is it too late to apply some of the simple techniques that we're talking about?
I don't think so. I think that if you could acknowledge when the self-awareness is the key to all of this. If you can acknowledge when you're feeling like I'm getting to that place, what do I need to do? You have to be aware of what tools in your toolbox are your go-to. Like, that's the first thing I tell people is like, okay, so when you start feeling that anxiousness or that overwhelm or overstressed, what tools in your toolbox do you know to grab to? And some people will say, I know I got to hit the trail and run at lunchtime, or I know I got to call my girlfriend and go get a cup of coffee with her because I just got to let this out. So whatever your tool is, know what your go-to is and do it before you hit that point. But you got to be, responsible about taking the pause. And like so many people have said here, do that without guilt.
We've talked a little bit about the importance of self-responsibility in this regard. What are some things leaders can employ within an organization to support a proactive, resilient lifestyle?
Be human and talk about their own journey, because they're dealing with stress just like we are, right? Like, there's nothing more encouraging than when a leader has the courage to share what they're doing and how they're helping themselves. We model for other people good things or not, or we just appear like we have it all figured out, and that's very intimidating. So I say what leaders can do is just openly talk about how they're taking care of themselves, what they do when they hit stress, and normalize it so other people can say, oh, wow, I thought that guy had it all figured out. Well, maybe he doesn't, and he's just doing the best he can. And I feel less of, someone who's a failure because I'm struggling.
We have some great comments coming in, and I can't even keep up with all of them, but I'll share a couple. Robert Matson says, all of these things are under the category of simple and not easy. Amen to that. And Ian Compton says, we cannot look after anyone or anything else to the best of our abilities if we don't look after ourselves first. We need to be a little selfish to help the most. And I know a comment earlier made reference to put the oxygen mask on yourself first. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Oftentimes we work ourselves into the ground with our jobs, and then we come home completely depleted. And like, what do you think your experience of your loved ones are of you at that point? Right? Like, don't they deserve a better version of you? Don't they deserve someone who's ready to show up in their relationships just like they show up at work? So like, we have to be thinking about how are we showing up for the people that count on us? If we're depleted, we don't do that well.
Do you have any thoughts or ideally tips around differentiating between important and urgent? I think so often we skip over the taking care of ourselves because there's this problem that has to be solved, and we see that problem, have to solve it now.
Yeah.
But you're talking about reflecting and so on. It seems to me that an important problem isn't necessarily an urgent one, or at least not more urgent than that 15 minutes that we had scheduled. Again,
it goes back to my statement about either or. Why does it have to be either or? Why can't it be, I'll address this, and then I'm going to go and do this for me. I'm going to take a 15-minute meditation. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go out in nature for a few minutes and come back and then clear my head and then be able to tackle the problem. I think we have to move away from the either or, that like you are the one that gets compromised. Like, it has to be something that is just, and I'm going to make it all work because I know my health is wealth.
Gil Tiny shares, understand how to feed your heart, body, and soul, whatever that means for you, or physical disease will manifest if you're not in alignment with each area of you.
Amen. Well said, Jill. Well said. Absolutely.
And from Mark Howison, leaders are afraid to be human as it's not written in the job description. and shareholders don't want a leader to be seen as vulnerable. That actually hits pretty deep. Shareholders don't want to have a leader seen as vulnerable. How much stock do we put in that these days?
I wonder, Rob. When you die and people turn up to your funeral, I wonder how many of the shareholders will turn up and say nice things about you. I bet none at all.
That may be.
Well, I think it's in the past, we've joked in previous episodes about the Victorian, manager. But today, surely vulnerability is a top quality for leaders to have.
Brené Brown books, lean into the vulnerability. I mean, it's a classic. I think it's how you get respect now as a leader, is to show your vulnerability. Yeah. In fact, if you're not showing your vulnerability, I would be, not concerned just for your health, but concerned for you and your ability to lead. I think things have changed massively in the last 5 years, certainly through COVID.
In fact, that's a really good point, because there's a real risk for leaders that pretend they know what they're doing when they don't really know what they're doing, and therefore they don't ask for it. And that adds to or causes anxiety, sometimes without them knowing.
Yeah, I mean, shareholders, the argument about they don't want to see a vulnerable leader, they don't want to see somebody that is kind of any sign of weakness, but equally they don't want a leader that's dead. And that's the point, isn't it? Whether or not that's physically dead or whether or not that's just unable to function, that's far more damaging to any organization. And I think you're right, Tim. I think these days there's been a massive shift, and investors and shareholders, and particularly employees, want to see the complete person. They want to see all aspects of that, the good and the bad, the strong and the weak, in order that they can model themselves. They can look at that and say, here's somebody that they're stumbling through life in the same way that I am. They've got their issues in the same way that I have, and that surely brings the team closer to the leader.
Bringing up some additional comments, Anne shares, John Lennon is quoted as saying, "Life is something that happens whilst we're busy making plans."
Yeah, there's a fantastic Alan Watts short story, which is animated and it's illustrated by the guys that did South Park, about somebody that is chasing their career, and you from kindergarten, you're kind of told, come on, and you work your way into through grade school and into university, and then you get your job, and then you work your way up. Come on, you're nearly there. And then when you get there, there is no there. It's like, what was the point of it? And it's like a 3-minute watch, but it's really, really powerful thing to watch, because it does help you understand that actually all of those things, and I think we will understand it when we get older, but it would have been lovely to have learned to, early on, that it's not about career, it's not about money, it's about doing stuff you love with people that you love.
Yeah, what's that called? John Watts, did you say?
Alan Watts is an American philosopher who's died now. But there's this South Park animation of it. It's a lovely watch, really valuable for people.
Michelle, one of the things that you talked about earlier on was about gratitude, and thinking about that. I know Jay Shetty, the guy that's become a monk. Actually, Adam and I know him. He actually talks in his first book about when he wakes up in the morning, that sort of like groggy stage before he actually gets up, he actually goes through a process of gratitude and thinking about the things that he should be pleased and grateful for. Yep. What's your view around gratitude and how we should think about that ourselves?
Yeah, we have to remember fundamentally the mind is not wired to make you happy. The mind is wired to protect you. So every day it's always doing its job when it's constantly looking and scanning for things that are wrong, things that are broken, things that need your attention. Organically, that's where your mind is going to go. So like, it takes something for us to keep a positive disposition. Now, we can use willpower all day long and say, I'm going to be positive. I'm going to be positive. But the magic lies in the gratitude practice, because the gratitude consistently, as a practice, shifts your gaze to what's good, all the love, all the abundance that is in your life. And whatever we focus on will always expand. So focusing on our gratitude is a beautiful way to organically help us be more positive in our outlook and grounded to the fact that we are very blessed with what we do have.
Thank you.
Is that why we're taught the please and thank yous when we're young?
No, Alex, it's about you know very well you are somebody who's blessed with a fantastic family and a support network, etc., and it's about finding time to actually understand and say I'm really happy about that.
Yeah.
Really lucky that I'm in this situation. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So first, I want to apologize to Jill and anyone else whose name I butchered. And
Yeah,
I will continue to butcher them, but it won't stop me from trying.
Yeah, it's Yayan. Just saying.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Just saying. Got it. Well, Jill, you've been great about sharing. I wanted to post some of these additional comments, and as have many others, Yayan included, have been great about contributing. Jill goes on to say, Brene Brown has made a career from vulnerability. It takes courage. And she says, don't be inauthentic with vulnerability. It will blow up in your face. It isn't a tick box. It's about deeper connections. And I think that actually came up in response to our talk around leaders sharing their vulnerability. How do you really draw that line between authentic and inauthentic when it comes to being vulnerable? Is it just obvious?
I think people can sniff it a mile away. I think that's just my opinion.
And I had another question in the comments I'm trying to go back for. Yes. I don't know if you'll know the answer to this, but we'll bring it up anyway. Mark Cowison asks, has the figure of 20% of 13 to 18-year-olds living with a mental health condition increased in recent times?
I don't know that question. I don't know the answer to that question. We'd have to look that up, but it's pretty significant. It was significant the last time I looked there. Because of COVID, I think our young people were hit the hardest. So it's got to be, and as a coach to many educators now, I continuously hear the behavioral concerns and the mental health challenges that are happening in our youth. So I would not be surprised if that has increased.
So tangentially related to that, my wife read recently that a university in Southeast US has gone back to the virtual classrooms because of the latest outbreak in COVID. And my question to her was, do you think my school might be doing that? And what are some things that we can do proactively to help alleviate the stresses that come with that? Anything different? Any behaviors that we've learned having gone through this play once before?
So I always want to go back to what is it that we could be doing for ourselves every single day so that we can ebb and flow with the stress, no matter what it looks like, no matter how it shows up, no matter what label it has on it. What are we doing every day to take care of ourselves? And are we aware of our mindset? Those are two things we should all be doing, and we shouldn't be waiting for some, external circumstance to dictate whether we provide ourselves with self-care.
Help me become more aware of my mindset. What am I listening for? What am I doing?
Yeah, so it's like the mindset is what I referred to before, right? If we believe life is happening for us or to us, if we have a negative narrative running in the back of our head that's constantly judging and assessing, most of us do. It's just how loud is it? How much credit are we giving that little voice in our head that's constantly judging and assessing, right? Our immediate reaction when something doesn't go our way or something upsets us, do we feel defeated, right? There's a lot of little things you can start asking yourself. And are you filling your bucket so that you can have a positive mindset? I know for myself, when I stop taking care of myself or I don't do the things that I know make me feel good physically and mentally, it's hard to have a positive mindset. You have got to be thinking, like, what is it that I need to shift so that I can get my mind back into a good place? It's all so closely woven together. So you've got to get, if you want a good mindset, you really do have to do those things for your physical body because it's tied together.
The audience has been great with questions. Please continue to share them. We will get as many as possible on screen. Just trying to go through them now, multitasking as you can tell. Just picking up on Robert's comment from earlier, most adults are 4 people: parent, employee, significant other, self, usually in that order, unless the significant other has an important need, which I'm inferring he means the significant other would come before parent and employee, but still self last. Is that what you typically see?
Yeah.
And is that necessarily what's best?
Yeah, I see that all the time. Everybody, especially moms. I coach a lot of teachers who are moms. Everybody's needs come before theirs, and then they wonder why, like, would they hit a wall and they can't even do the basic things they need to do. We have to put ourselves higher up in that line. We have to put ourselves first so that we can be a better parent, we can be a better partner, we can be a better employee. Like, it sounds so simple, but it is very hard to do. But if you get the impact of how you show up for those people and those responsibilities, it's night and day. Like, stop foregoing the self-care for everyone else's needs, because it's never going to serve you. And you could harbor some serious resentment at the end of the day. Why do people get angry at their employer? It's because they are spending and giving 150% of that job, and they're not doing anything for themselves, and they're not, connecting with people they love, and they're not engaging in the hobby, because they're so acutely focused and putting all of their energy in their work.
I think Robert's last comment is true, and this is something that we often use when we're dealing with teams, is all these things under the category of simple but not easy.
Right.
And that's the thing, this concept is such a simple one. You put yourself first, of course you do. If you're not happy and motivated and full of energy, how is there anything left to give to other people? But I guess it's the habits and that gratitude, like you said, that Jay Shetty does, where he lies in bed before he gets up, and he's got a little bit of quiet time when he can think to himself, I have so much to be happy for, so much to be thankful for. For example, there's this, and there's this, and there's this, and this really gives me joy, and this is where. And I guess that part of the challenge for people is effectively diarising time in their lives to do this. Because anybody, no matter how low they are, if you say to them, what are the things that you love doing, and when did you? Oh, well, I really love going on the beach with the dog. When did you last do that? This morning, actually.
Yes.
It's like, okay, so why do you not focus on that? Like you said, Michelle, this idea that we're hardwired to look for problems that we're then going to solve, to look for challenges,
Absolutely.
to look for danger, and to step back from that and go, okay, an affirmation, this is what I'm happy with, this is what I love. And that now one of our colleagues that runs the Institute of Sales Professionals and is often on our other show that we do regularly, he often references a guy that did a TED talk called Sean Aker, called The Happiness Advantage. And what's really interesting is when you watch that TED talk and he talks about how you can rewire the brain. He says in that talk that he was being consulted for, I forget which one it was. It could have been Harvard. Let's say it was Harvard. And they said, Monday we have depression, Tuesday we have mental health awareness, Wednesday we have a wellness week every term where we look at these different challenges. And he said, whoa, that's not a wellness week, that's a sickness week. Yeah. Because what you're doing is you're focusing on all of the potential things that people can have, rather than focus on the things that they should be. And his story is a really interesting one because it helps you give context to the things that you should be happy about. But so often we kind of we focus on the things that are minor and make them major, and the things that we should be really thrilled about, we go, oh well, that's just the way that is. I've got a loving partner, so I don't need to worry about that. And all of that stuff tends to be the normal mode of operation, I think. So my question is, how do we diarize that time? How do we carve out those moments or small portions of time when we can do that stuff?
Start small, right? Like we all know the power of starting small. Just do something little. And then, then we all know the power of stacking, right? Like stack it. If you're going to have a cup of coffee every morning and you do the same thing, like when you have your next cup of coffee, reflect on 3 things that make you feel really good that's in your life, right? Like start small. Don't try to boil the ocean. And as you start to progressively feel better mentally, and then incorporate other things and try things on, and then just do a reflection of like how I felt before I did anything versus how I feel now. And I think that that's important too. I mean, Heather commented here as well about the fact that our brain is speculating fear, right? Like think about that. It's even when there is nothing to fear, our minds are going there organically, right? So we have to start to catch ourselves. There's magic in just becoming that a little bit more aware of I'm doing that thing again, But fundamentally, to answer your question, I would say start small and build little habits that slowly start to shift your attention, because energy goes where our focus is. So wherever we're focusing is going to expand. So just if you leave it up to fate, like I always say, like if you leave it up to life, you're like the plastic bag blowing in the wind. You're gonna have the same experience, right? But if you become a little bit more intentional and really start to focus your attention on the other things that do help us feel good, like I have a loving partner who supports me, like that's amazing. And I think, and not to like for them, for you, not like I should go and let them know. No, it's for you. Doesn't that feel good when you reflect on that? It's about feeling good. When we feel good, we pull more of the good feeling stuff into our life.
But I think also owning it, owning the successes and owning the failures as well. One of the things that I find incredibly frustrating, not because it frustrates me, because I feel frustrated for other people, is when they are in a place which is very woe is me. This happened and this happened, and like you said earlier about life happening to them, not for them or with them.
Yeah.
And I have many weaknesses. One of my strengths is that I'm perfectly happy to take responsibility if something hasn't gone right for me and know that it's actually down to me. Maybe not entirely down to me, but in part down to me. And that gives me a huge amount of confidence and happiness because I'm in control of this ship as it sails through the ocean of life. And I think that lots of people feel they're not captain of their ship. And I always feel that that's a really bad place to be.
Oh, yeah.
Because these things happen to you. You're waiting for the next promotion. You're waiting for the next change in your life to happen, rather than saying, okay, well, I'm going to intentionally go and try and achieve that thing.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't. And if it doesn't, what's the worst that can possibly happen?
Yeah. Yeah, we do. We absolutely do create our reality, and being resigned about what we want never works.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're so right about that. And and the people who believe that life is happening to them are always looking for the next thing to be the victim for. They're always looking for it. Up, proof. Look at me, I'm the victim. And I'm laughing, but not laughing. Like, I'm trying to get people to realize if you constantly look for the next thing that's going to beat you up or take you down, it's going to show up. So why not look for the next blessing around the corner, or the next miracle that shows up that you weren't counting on?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to clarify for the audio only audience, what Heather had posted was a lot of what resilience has to do with our mind shifts and disposition to what if scenarios and speculative fear. Most of those thoughts and speculations don't even exist, but affect us nonetheless. And then some additional comments that came through. Let's see. Start small and don't try to boil the ocean is a line I am definitely stealing. And Robert shares with us, I just had a talk about using energy for self-blame versus using that same energy to plan for things that make one happy.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That is comment of the week for me.
And Jill's, can you put Jill's comment out about I count my blessings before I fall asleep?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Yes, Jill shares, I count my blessings before I fall asleep. Then my brain has lovely things to use for my dreams. Don't have to find the time. It's there every evening when I close my eyes.
What a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
And you know, that kind of behavior spreads a little happiness, doesn't it? So again, you know, going back to the Sean Akers TED talk, one of the things that's really interesting in that is that part of his methodology, if you like, to be happy comes from, we've got a bit of a connection issue, I suspect.
I believe she is back.
Yeah, part of that comes from sharing the love. So, you know, you go through every day and you write 3 things that you have to be happy about. You go and look back over the last week, and then you do random acts of kindness. So, you know, I've not spoken to you for a while, Tim, so I'm going to send you a note that says, thanks, Tim, you've been really supportive over the last week. Actually, the nice thing about verbalizing that is that it takes you a moment to do. You feel better about the fact that you've done that, but they feel really happy about the fact that you've done it and they've received this thing. You know, so it can be as simple as asking to see the manager of a shop that you've gone into and saying, I just dealt with this person and I'd like to say thank you. They're fantastic. And you know, they get a pat on the back, but you feel really good about having spread a little bit of love in the world.
Yes.
Adam, I do that from time to time, and my family now gets to the point where they disown me. They don't know me.
Mm-hmm.
But when they're the recipient of this, so actually this happened just yesterday. Tim was talking to one of our clients, and the client shared the satisfaction score for some of the training that we'd done, and it was like 4.7 out of 5 stars, and you know, and some anecdotes and comments that they'd said, and it was just lovely because Tim put it into the group channel on our internal social network and said, check this out. This is some of the feedback. And we all read it and just went, oh, that's brilliant. And it's brilliant to know that we've made people feel a little bit better about what it is that they're doing. And it didn't take anything to do it. It just took the time and trouble to document it.
Michelle, I see your note in the comments.
Yeah.
Share that with us, please.
For sure. I think the overall message here, this has been such a lovely conversation. I think the overall message here is that we need to encourage people listening, our friends, our families, to just slow down a little bit. We are in such an overstimulated, overly demanding world, a very busy world, that if we just take a moment to just start to slow down, maybe reflect on what matters, and even how we're caring for ourselves, that can make a world of difference to just how we go about living our lives. So,
Michelle, thank you very much for that. This has been a fantastic hour. How can people get in touch with you? How can they follow you? How can they learn more?
Yeah, LinkedIn, right here on LinkedIn. I would say it's Michelle E. Dickinson on LinkedIn. I'm always posting what we're up to, what we're doing. Yeah, for sure. Please do.
Excellent. And I wanted to thank everyone in the panel today for another great conversation. I wanted to thank the audience for fantastic participation, fantastic insights, fantastic questions. This has been the digital download, which is Adam. Just kidding. I'll take it. The longest running weekly business talk show on LinkedIn Live. It's been a great conversation today. We're always looking to have great conversations. If you have something to say, we want you to consider being a guest on our show. There's a QR code on screen that you can use to find the application to be our guest. You can also find it at digitaldownload.live and click on the Be Our Guest section. Again, Michelle, thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle.
Adam, Tim, Alex.
Everyone gets 5 minutes back to go for a walk.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a walk.
Just before you go, put Jill's second last comment on. The one about adjust our thinking.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Yes.
Let me go ahead and.
That's a really positive shift, isn't it, for everybody?
Yeah, Jill leaves us with adjust our thinking from what's in it for me to how can I help?
Yeah.
Fantastic way to end it.
Thanks,
Again,
Jim.
thank
Thank
you all
very much.
Yeah.